If there are people on the internet promising you legit, authentic pho in under 1 hour, they lying to you. You guys asked, so I'm gonna deliver. Over the months, you guys have been asking me why I haven't made the quintessential Vietnamese dish yet. So today, we're gonna be making Phở Bò, Vietnamese Beef Pho. Between hockey practice and dance recitals and all these different things we have going on the weekend, there's just no possible way for me to sit at home and babysit a pho broth. So here's a simple method that's gonna give you authentic pho in a very practical way. Okay, so the first thing I wanna talk to you guys about is all our ingredients. So in order to build our broth, we're gonna need beef bones. At my local Asian supermarket, I was able to get a bag of mixed beef bones, which includes some marrow bones and some joint bones. The marrow bones, they also call it like knuckle bones, I think. It has a lot of marrow, which under high pressure and under high heat is going to kind of dissolve into fatty goodness. So that's how you can really tell a good pho is whether there's this luscious, smooth mouthfeel. You know that it's a quality pho because they're using high quality bones. The joint bones is where you're gonna get a lot of that collagen. Collagen is what's gonna give you a nice jelly-like texture. When you refrigerate your broth and it congeals to like a jelly, you know it's legit. So I'm using some beef neck bone here and also some beef ribs. Look at all this. It cost me over like $100 to just get everything together. So they're not gonna be using this in the restaurant. So the first thing we're gonna have to do, like in any of our other recipes, is we're gonna have to clean this. For beef pho, this is a non-negotiable. So get yourself a pot. This one doesn't have to be too large because we're not making our broth in here. We're just really using this to clean it. So fill it up and then we're going to fill it up with water and bring it to a boil. So it's coming to a boil. All of this really disgusting scum and impurities is starting to come out. Let's dump it out now. If you're skipping this step, just know that this is in your broth. Sometimes people are scared that parboiling it loses the sweetness. Like, you know, am I dumping out all of the flavor of the bone when I'm doing this? And the answer is no, okay? It's been like 5 minutes, guys. It hasn't reached a high enough temperature or pressure in order for it to release all of that goodness yet. So don't worry. So now let's put our clean bones into our Instant Pot. This phase is what we're gonna call the extraction phase. Our only goal right now is to extract all of the collagen and marrow out of the bones. We're not working on building the flavor profile yet. That'll be step 2. So it's gonna be very minimal at this stage. We're not putting in any aromatics or spices. We're just gonna be putting in some bones and a little bit of salt. Let's close our lid. And we're gonna cook this sealed under manual, high pressure for 60 minutes. So when you go to a pho restaurant, it looks like there's like 30, 40 different variations of pho. And it's all the same things, guys. It's just pho in the beef broth, but you get to choose your own toppings. So whether you like rare pho, whether you like cooked pho, brisket pho, tendon pho, the world's your oyster, okay? But I think you should stay within the beef family. Don't be mixing this up with like other animals. It's kind of weird. I'm using a little bit of flank, tendon, tripe, and beef balls. I actually have some rare beef as well that's in the freezer right now. I'm just firming it up a little bit before I slice it, so I'll show you guys that later. Most of these toppings we're gonna be cooking later on in the second stage. And the reason we don't wanna cook this during the same time as the beef bones in the Instant Pot is because we want to maintain the texture. Using the Instant Pot allows us to still extract the beautiful marrow and collagen out of the bones in an efficient way. Finishing it on the stovetop is what allows us to control the flavor profile and the texture of the meat. I think it's the only method I figured out that allows me to actually cook a beef pho in a reasonable amount of time. Some of the other recipes out there that kind of toss everything together into an Instant Pot, it's gonna result in meat that's overcooked or broth that's like very dark and cloudy. When you cook some of these spices under high pressure, it becomes overpowering and medicinal, which we don't want. If you're looking at recipes out there and it's showing you like a really dark colored pho, that ain't right. Like, it's supposed to be just like a nice golden color, and finishing it on the stovetop allows me to spend time skimming out the fat. It allows me to spend time developing the flavor instead of like, let me see what I'm gonna get when I open up this Instant Pot, right? I don't know, I need more control than that. I think beef pho is a labor of love, okay? If you're gonna make beef pho for your family already, like, just know that you're spending a couple of hours to build this thing, which is what makes it so special. If there are people on the internet promising you legit, authentic pho in under 1 hour, they lying to you, okay? There's no such thing. So a lot of these things out there, I think it's for clicks, which, hey, I get, right? But there's no need to do that. I really want to show you that authentic Vietnamese food is accessible and is super approachable, as long as you kind of understand some fundamental steps and understand like what each ingredient's role is supposed to be. Then you can kind of substitute, then you can work around it. In terms of the herbs and aromatics that we're gonna be using for this, so of course the usual suspects, you really can't have any Vietnamese noodle soups without green onions, cilantro, and some white onions. We're gonna be charring a little bit of the ginger and yellow onions to build our pho broth as well. So I sliced an onion in half, and I've also done the same to ginger. Do it lengthwise so that you have more surface area to char. I prefer to do this over my gas burner because I like my aromatics to come into direct contact with the fire. It creates a really beautiful char that gives off like a nice like smoky flavor profile. You can also do it in an air fryer, but you're gonna have to do it like at a very high temperature, like maybe even a broil. In terms of the spices that we're gonna be using, we're using a mix of cinnamon stick, black cardamom, star anise, coriander seeds, cloves, fennel seeds, and whole black pepper. This is a very classic mix for pho. Some families will use one ingredient more than the other, or even regionally, there are a lot of differences. So it depends on whether you're very used to northern style pho or southern style pho. Some of these ratios may differ. If you'd like to know the exact measurements and the complete recipe, this is all gonna be available on my blog, which is coming very soon. So for rice noodles, I'm gonna be using this brand, which is a dry noodle. I would love to use fresh noodles. It's just not available to me here in Canada. If you do go for a dry noodle, all you're gonna have to do is cook that in boiling water for about 8 or 9 minutes till al dente, then drain it in cold water and just leave it aside before serving. It's been doing a natural pressure release for about 20 minutes. And we're gonna open our Instant Pot and see the beautiful broth that awaits us. Wow, oh my God. Look at all that fat that's floating to the top. That's when you know it's a good broth. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna remove some of these bones. The neck bone, the ones with meat on it, we're going to remove them and put them in some ice water. It's going to stop the cooking process, but it's also going to preserve a nice color. The bones, you're gonna wanna transfer it into a bigger pot, okay? And this is the pot that we're going to use to build our broth. So you want it to be big. You want it to be larger because we're putting in these bones, but we're also gonna be putting in that big piece of brisket or flank to continue cooking. So you need a lot of space. To take the inner pot out, you're gonna pour this into your bigger stock pot. So now let's add our piece of beef flank and our tendon to this broth. So I have this super adorable spice ball that I'm going to try to fit the onion and ginger into, okay? I don't know if it's gonna work, but we'll see. So let's put this in. So once your spices and aromatics are in, let it simmer for around 90 minutes until the meat becomes tender. You can continually check that by poking a chopstick into the meat. So this phase is what we call the infusion phase. This is when we're infusing our bone broth with all the nice spices, aromatics, and the meat flavor. So your house is slowly gonna be filled with the fragrance of pho. All these spices and aromatics are really gonna come to life during this stage. Let it just do its thing for the next 90 minutes, and very soon we're gonna have a beautiful bowl of beef pho. So while your broth is simmering, you're gonna wanna skim off some of this fat at the top. But don't go skimming all of it. A little bit of fat is needed for the richness of the broth, and it's what's gonna make it so tasty. So you guys know I'm obsessed with this step. Skim out some of the foam and impurities too while you're at it. We wanna make sure our broth is nice and clear at the end, restaurant quality. After about 90 minutes, remove your brisket or beef flank and submerge it into an ice bath. This is gonna cool it down and make it easier for you to slice thin, which you're gonna wanna do against the grain. Take out your tendon as well if you're using that. Cut up any topping you're using into bite-sized pieces or very thin slices for easy eating. If you're using beef balls, cut them in half. They're already cooked, so you just need to add them to your pot to reheat them. Now that we're at the end, season the broth to your liking by adding fish sauce, rock sugar, and chicken bouillon to taste. It's so flavorful, so rich with a little bit of fattiness still. It tastes legit. And because we used all the beef ribs and neck bone, I feel like the broth has a lot of body and it isn't flat like some restaurant broths are. Sometimes when you eat it at the restaurant, you can tell that what you're tasting is just a lot of salt, maybe a lot of MSG. It doesn't have that natural meatiness, that natural umami. This certainly has it. So let's bring this back to a boil and we're gonna prepare our bowls. So I have a bit of an assembly line going on here. The first thing we'll do is we will fill our bowl up with noodles. Okay, now we're going to top it off with some of the beef flank, a little bit of the tripe, some tendon. I have some of the beef ribs and beef neck here too for those who want it. And of course, let's put some rare beef slices. Okay, so look at that. This is how our bowl looks right before we ladle the hot broth onto it. This is absolutely incredible, guys. I can't believe we made this at home in under 3 hours. Totally worth it because I'll be eating it for the next 3 days. Okay, let's try this thing. First, let's taste the broth. It's so flavorful. And the fatness from the bone marrow really gives it a nice, rich mouthfeel. It's so good. The meat cooked just perfectly because we did it on the stove. I think if we'd thrown it into the Instant Pot, it would have turned too mushy and it wouldn't have maintained this nice texture. So I really like that we did that. So it took about 60-70 minutes on the Instant Pot and then another 90 minutes on the stove. So in total, I think you can get this done in around 3 hours. So it's not a complete shortcut, but I think it's a pretty good trade-off to get amazing quality beef pho at home. Okay, I'm gonna get back to this, but I hope you guys enjoy seeing that, and I really hope that you'll feel inspired to make beef pho at home. It doesn't always have to take 8 hours or overnight for it to taste legit. Just follow this method and you'll love it. See you next time.